Have you ever wanted to lift the hood on leadership and look into the emotional physics and the invisible work and how a visionary integrator dynamic can hold the tension and the responsibility and the humanity of running a practice? Welcome to the Culture Focused Practice podcast. I am your host, Dr. Tara Vossenkemper, and that's our goal for the day. We're going to look into the unseen, unglamorous, emotional, operational work of leadership, the quiet labor of leadership. This is actually, though, an entirely new segment. So I had my integrator on with me a couple of episodes ago. She's with me today. Her name is Taylor. Hey.
What up, what up?
What up? What up, Cynthia?
What up, Cynthia?
What up? And I realized I was actually thinking about this at like 6 this morning. I woke up and I was just thinking about you, thinking about us on the podcast, and I realized after having her on the first time that I wanted to continue to have her on, and I wanted us to have a very distinct segment and a recurring segment on the Culture Focused Practice podcast. So you are officially listening to the first Visionary Integrator Table, the VI table of the podcast. Two things. Table is double entendre for me. Number one, I love King Arthur and the round table. So if I say table, I'm envisioning a round table, just to be very, very clear about that. This is not a square or a rectangle, like it's a round table. Second thing is, I feel like consistently, and T-Dog, you can attest to this, but I feel like consistently throughout our relationship and also in my own, like how things live inside my head and how I say them out loud, I'll reference players at a table.
Yeah.
Or like, it's just, this is just a player at the table. And so I think it's something that already has like life between us and like conceptually sort of like meets a metaphorical need. Yeah. So
yeah,
that's it. This is the VI table, the first official segment. And we are again talking about the quiet labor of leadership. There is leadership work that nobody sees. It's internal monitoring, it's emotional holding, it's weight that we carry so that our employees and our direct reports don't have to. It's very, very likely mostly unseen. It's not really glamorous. And I mean, it's not sexy. I don't think there's anything that's like enticing or like glittery about it. But what I will say is that when you have a visionary and an integrator working side by side, when you have a healthy relationship, the labor gets divided. It gets shared. It's sometimes misunderstood. It's sometimes magnified, but it's weight that's being carried now by more than just you as a visionary or as a business owner. So the breakdown of our VI table is that we're going to prompt ourselves with questions, and then we're going to talk. And that's really it. Taylor, are you ready? Do you have anything you want to add before we get going?
No, I'm so ready.
Okay, there are some really good questions here.
You told me what this was going to be about, and I've also been, it's been like marinating for me. Like things are just coming up. So I'm interested to see what the questions are going to be and how my priming will seep out into our conversation.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Also, for the record, Taylor, I mean, I haven't thought about these questions, but I see them in front of me. Taylor has not seen them at all. So this is like entirely new, which I love that sort of process.
Yeah.
Okay, let's kick this off. Question number one, what does quiet labor feel like in leadership and how does it show up for each of us? You start.
What does quiet labor look like?
And feel like.
And be like, what does Tara want? I hear that all the time. You say that so often. It's like now internalized in my.
That's so funny.
I think it is. I like what you said earlier that like it's not sexy. Like this work isn't sexy. I think that people's perceptions of what leadership is or can be are likely very, very different than the reality. And I think that's where the quietness comes in. And so I'm thinking about like, I think we were maybe in maybe one of your momentum discussions. I think I said something to the effect of we were talking about rocks. And I said something to the effect of like, I like jokingly will like cringe away and like try to make myself small to like not get a rock. Because oftentimes my point is Oftentimes in leadership, you are going to have to do work that you like don't want to do in some respect. Like, there are times when I'm doing projects that I'm really jazzed about. I stayed up way too late last night working on our annual report, which is like for fun. It is a for fun project. I think it's going to add value. I think it is meaningful to our practice. But is it going to impact our revenue stream? No. Is it going to impact, you know what I mean? Like the impact is more cultural, vibey than tangible. And so that's something I'm super jazzed about. I don't feel as jazzed about like entering data into some spreadsheets or sitting down and conceptualizing like our role transitions when someone's moving from an intern to a provisionally licensed clinician. So I think the part of the quietness is that there is a lot of aspects of leadership where you get to do things you're passionate about, and there's some freedom there about like, getting to choose what you do. But there's also kind of a heavy responsibility of having to do work that you don't want to do or that no one really wants to do. Like we kind of joke sometimes that I'm your toilet, you know, like from like
Which is
all
an
of the
office
office.
reference.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
like
Game.
Gabe's is the toilet. It's a flush. But that it is in actuality. So the joke is that essentially he ends up taking on the stuff that his superior doesn't
Robert,
want to
California.
do. And he like he takes care of it. He flushes it away. He disposes of it. And it's a joke, but it's also kind of true sometimes. Like I do in some ways take on stuff that either the visionary, honestly, it's not about want. It's really it's not about want. It's about what makes sense for the roles. And sometimes it aligns with want, but for us the key decision maker is like role alignment. So that's a lot of words for me saying like it's work, it's in the background, it's work in the background. And I think as humans, we want to do work that is meaningful. And some of that meaning is like the derivation of that meaning is like implicit. Like I understand this work to be meaningful, and so the act of doing it gives me meaning. But I do think there's another aspect of that work being seen and recognized and acknowledged that also gives a sense of fulfillment or meaning. And oftentimes the work that leadership is doing is not seen or directly felt. And that's actually, it should be that way, in my opinion. Most of what we are doing, it should not feel explicitly impactful for our team. In fact, it should be minimizing actually the felt experience of like work or drudgery or difficulty. We're greasing the wheels for people so that as they're going down the track, it is smooth and they're not thinking about all of these other things that we are thinking. So it's like there's difficulty in, I guess, being okay with a kind of a lack of acknowledgement or I think we say sometimes like
Thankless.
it's thankless or like they don't get
Can
it.
be. Yeah.
Like people don't get it. And I'm not necessarily like our employees, like they don't get it, man. They don't appreciate it. But like they don't actually know what it's like to be in leadership. And for better or for worse, that's the way it should be. So much for me always goes back to like leadership and parenting are just so intertwined for me. Like I don't want my kids to feel how fucking hard it is to be a parent, to be parenting them. That's not, I don't want my kid to feel that. It's fucking hard. And I am like gritting my teeth doing hard work every day. I don't feel it like leadership doesn't feel that level of intensity for me. Because I am a mother of a 3-year-old and 6-month-old twin, so it's very intense right now.
Yeah, it's very different.
There's something there about like I don't want my staff, I don't want my team to feel sometimes the depth of the challenging work, whether that's intellectually challenging or emotionally challenging. Or I mean, I'm thinking about when we did we attempted to transition EHRs.
God, that was so awful.
Awful. I was working probably 80 hours a week for a couple of weeks to get this
I hate that.
rolled out. It was awful.
Yeah. Oh, I feel
And
so fucking sorry about that. Just that we did it,
no,
the
you
work that
know,
you put into it. I mean, it was such a horrible experience.
I can look back on it now and say, like, I'm grateful for the experience, for what I learned. And I learned a lot in that experience. And
Mhm.
I'm grateful to have had that experience, even though it was awful. And I was like, I think like 5 or 6 months
You were
postpartum.
very recently postpartum with your
Yeah.
firstborn. I think I
Yeah.
was on leave and
You
then
were.
it was horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, but I didn't want the staff. The staff didn't need to know, and I didn't want them to know how deeply challenging that was because that's not the role of leadership is to take that off of them. So anyway, I'm like waxing poetic on this, but that's kind of the first thing that comes to mind of is like the thanklessness, like the quiet. It's
Mhm.
quiet because you're not drawing attention to it, and we really don't want it to be. That's not like the kind of leadership
Mhm.
that we are practicing or interested in or that I feel is effective.
Yeah, there's like two I was thinking about as you were talking, there was like a few sort of thoughts that were coming up for me, you know. One is, did you ever see the movie? I think Strange World is what it's called, but it's a like Disney or
No.
Pixar.
Mm-mm.
I know they're distinct, but they, animated film, either Strange Planet or Strange World, and it's about this like it sort of doesn't matter, but ultimately this the main character Tim and his son and then his father, it's sort of this generational thing. It's cute. It's really I like the movie actually a lot, but they're inside this strange world. They're trying to get through to the mountains on the other side, and I'm going to spoil this for everybody listening. Sorry if you haven't seen it, but ultimately they are living inside the system of a giant turtle. Giant turtle. I love turtles. I don't know if you know that. I love
That's why you love
turtles.
it. That's why you love it
Yeah,
because you
that's
love
probably
turtles.
why.
Yeah.
Turtles. But everything that they are experiencing is it's the organ, it's all the systems, it's all the little pieces inside the turtle, like living, like they go through the stomach and there's this like acid lake that they have to cross through, the stomach acid. And anyway, there are these little I forget what they're called, but there are these little things that come after there's like a mess. Let's say there's a something gets destroyed. These little bronchiosaurus looking creatures come walking and then they drop off these like yellow tiny balls. And what happens is that everything that was destroyed like gets regenerated from these yellow tiny balls. And the thing about it is that you don't really see them if there's not a problem. And I think about like, oh, there's this function in the system that is well, one, restarting the heart, because that's the whole thing with the turtle. It's like they're destroying the turtle by how they're living in their little city. And anyway, it doesn't matter. But they are walking along after the fact, these bronchiosaurus type things, dropping these tiny little yellow glowing balls that help to restore the balance and like keep things healthy and running. I think that that is like the scene that was coming up for me when thinking about leadership is like there's something about it where it's I don't want to say cleanup because I don't think it's just cleanup, but I think there's something about it that is quiet and happens sometimes in response to a mess, and it seems really seamless. It can seem really seamless. But then also, if I step like back from that further, I think that some people probably think about leadership as in, well, I'm in charge, so listen to what I say. Fair, like, that's an approach to leadership. That's not something that I'm really interested in, but I think there's another approach to leadership, for me, and this is where the quiet labor really lives and, like, where I mostly feel it. I feel beholden to the people that I am responsible for. I feel like a sense of appropriate responsibility for my employees. Like, it's my job, it's leadership job, excuse me, to ensure that the systems are smooth, that the felt experience of being here is overall good, that you feel supported, that you feel relatively seen, that you feel cared for to the extent, I mean, it's not family. I don't really think of my employees as family, but I do. There's like a distinct caring for them that is different from, let's just say, the general public or like, strangers or something. There's a sense of like, these are
Mhm.
my, not kinfolk, but like, these are my people. These are
Yeah.
my people,
There's
not
a
mine
sense
in
of
an ownership point.
responsibility.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels responsible. And I
Mhm.
think that that piece, um, when there are hiccups, when there's shit that goes wrong, when there's strain on any system, I do feel like leadership role is to contain it and like filter through any message that's going out. Like the intensity of this need not be felt by the people around me. They might have a sense, like we might say, hey, this is happening, but I feel like the sort of the quiet labor, piece is softening any like blow that might hit them.
Yeah,
In a
we're protecting the vibe. I mean,
yes.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
we're protecting the vibe.
Yeah, it feels protective and not in a way like you don't need to know anything that no, don't look over here. But more like if I say, um, I'm thinking, let's just do finances because it's easy.
Yes.
End
Yep.
of the year is
That's
always
what.
hard. But if it's like there's financial strain and we can't do a bonus, I'm gonna say, hey, we can't do a bonus. It's been a rough couple of months for these reasons. Here's what we're doing to rectify the issue. Here's what we're working on, et cetera. This is not problematic long term. Like we're seeking to solve this for good. They are not going to feel the vice grip in my chest. They're not going to feel the pit in my stomach. That's not theirs to own. Like, so that to me feels like part of the labor piece, which is like, I need to make sure this is good for everybody involved because you and I both know like this business is mine, sure, but it's not me. It's not just me. There is a multitude of people who make up the practice. And we're all part of this. We're all in this together.
Yeah, like where everyone feels an impact from
Yeah.
what is happening within the business. The extent to which that impact is felt is different based on your involvement in the organization. Um, and I think it should be. Like I do think that
Yeah.
the
Agreed.
impact should be felt more acutely by leadership. And I mean, obviously, as a business owner, you are going to be the person feeling it most acutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so I think our role is to be cognizant of how things are going to impact staff, and to try and mitigate that impact as much as possible without flipping completely to like the smoke and like, do not look at the man behind the
Yes.
curtain.
Yeah.
Great. Everything's great.
Yeah.
We're not doing a bonus. Don't worry about it
Yeah.
because that's gonna like that's a great
That
example of like
erodes
that's
trust.
it erodes trust. People are gonna be like, why aren't we keep so
Mhm.
you're keeping the money for yourself, so they're gonna like assume, like people I'm actually curious what your thought is about this. I think that most people tend to assume the worst, like even in like positive relationships. Maybe I'm just projecting.
Maybe that's a me thing.
Just
Yeah.
me. But I do think people tend to, maybe in a workplace setting, especially because I think
Oh,
most of
interesting.
us, I've said this before, most of us, I think, come from workplaces where we were not cared for by those in leadership positions. Um, I don't, you always seem surprised when I say this, but I would
Hmm.
wager to say that most people listening to this podcast, most people in general, have not felt like cared for by those in leadership and probably are
Hmm.
there for more primed to assume the worst in leadership. Um, all of that to say is if you're telling me we've had a bonus and all of a sudden we're not having a bonus, I'm going to assume either something's really wrong. And if you're not telling me about it, then it like must be really fucking bad.
Hmm.
Or I might assume like, oh, okay, you're being stingy with your money.
Hmm.
I don't know that people are necessarily, and again, this could just be me, but I don't know if they're necessarily going to jump to, um, there's a lot of thought behind leadership's decisions, and I'm sure there's some good reasons why. That's probably not going to be first
Yeah.
thought. And they
Hmm.
shouldn't have to wonder. Like we shouldn't leave people in a place of having to wonder, this is a change. Why? Why is the change? Now, do we owe it to people to completely peel back the curtain and say, here's our
Hmm.
financial report and here's
Yeah.
why?
Right.
Like
It's not going to happen.
you can see
Yeah.
here that this dollar amount is not where we like that's not. People don't need
Hmm.
to know that and shouldn't know that. Like there's
Hmm.
levels of again, it's like parenting. Like there's
Yeah.
levels like you're
Transparency.
yeah, there's levels of
Hmm.
transparency. Um so yeah,
So
that's what came up for me.
I I don't okay, let me think about this. I don't know if I think that people assume the worst, but I think that people have any variety of feelings related responses. And so I think that for me, it's, I'm just such a, I feel like I'm just a very feelings oriented. I swim in I swim in feelings, period. I feel like that's my primary language, or like my first language is like feelings.
I think we all
And
do. You're just more honest about it.
yeah, no, I agree with you
Yeah.
actually. That's why I think that like whenever let's say I go to share a message like that, I'm not thinking people are going to assume the worst. I'm thinking people might be afraid. They might have a little bit of fear about this. They might be suspicious. They might not feel safe. They might like accept like, okay, cool, it's a bonus. Like it may hit or it may not. And so when I'm but it doesn't feel like a almost like I'm not coding the thing that they're doing. It just feels like they're gonna have a reaction to it, and that's okay. I would have a reaction if I was on the receiving end. And so my thought and like how I relay the message is that I'm also kind of proactively trying to speak to the feelings in advance because I assume that they will happen. I assume they're gonna have some. And so it doesn't really feel like I think it doesn't really feel like assuming anything. It just feels like accepting that people are going to have feelings and then
Yeah.
kind of trying in advance to speak to them. But what I will say is this: if there is enough of an established relationship and then somebody's response is a lot of mistrust, that is where I'm like mildly concerned, where it's like in the entirety of our relationship, we've only had relatively safe, like it's been psychologically safe. Like we've had hard conversations. There's been follow through consistently. What I thought was, a high level of trust established between us. And then the response, like I'm still being open and sharing, like, hey, this is what's happening and this is why. And the response is mistrust. That's where I'm like, that gives me pause. I'll just say that. And it doesn't even feel like they're assuming the worst. It feels like there's something going on. There's something that maybe I haven't quite labeled or figured out yet, or something I don't understand, or maybe my perception of the relationship is different than what it is, or maybe their like temperament and like their tendencies are different than what I thought. So, but yeah, I don't think that I think that language. I'm not saying that I'm fucking
No, I
Mother
think
Teresa or something, but
no, I think I actually really appreciate that reframe. Because I think that is a more probably both generous and accurate, honestly, interpretation of if there's a reaction, this is you're just being more curious. I like how you said you're not coding it as anything. Whereas I am making assumptions. And I think that is reflective of the very different paths to this place that we have taken.
Mhm.
And probably me coming from a lot of experiences where not only it was very negative
Yeah,
leadership
yeah,
experiences. Like I wouldn't even say neutral. I would say predominantly negative.
that sucks, man. That sucks.
Predominantly. Yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah, especially I mean,
Mhm.
especially knowing that my work experience is in the like people field. Like I've been in
Yeah.
this field. It's not like I'm talking about like working at McDonald's. Um,
That to me though, like also I think I just cut you off, but that like for leadership stuff, I think that is also the like thinking about quiet labor, it's you have to it's you. Like
yeah.
you are a part of leadership. I am leadership. Like however I show up, however I process things, whatever feelings I have, that's me. Like it's gonna either bleed out or it's going like I mean like trickle down, I should say. It's gonna like be explicit or it might be implicit. Like there's something about I cannot remove myself from leadership in the exact same way as doing clinical work. Like I can't
Yes.
remove myself from the therapist in the chair. Like that
Yeah.
is me. And I might present, the amount of space I give, the types of questions I ask, the things I share might be a little bit different, but my whole perception of life, like my own theory of the world and of people is it's all right there.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like quiet labor wise, it's like if all of your clinicians or all of your employees are unhappy, you probably need to reflect inward rather than like externalize. Do you know what I mean? Like I think that,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I
that's
feel like,
that's just that's like a meta level of this question of like the quiet labor or the quiet work of leadership is also like it's reflective of the work that you should be doing as a clinician, the work
Mhm.
you should be doing as a parent, as a human, of
Yeah. It's all the same.
yeah, like what's showing up for me? What am I bringing into this? And I feel like we have conversations about that like in real time. Like if we're an issue's coming up, um, let's say it's a people issue, or even like this morning in
Mhm.
L10 with the marketing calendar, like I started to have like a reaction.
Oh, yeah. I didn't
Um,
even notice. Yeah.
I
I
was
don't know
like,
if
I
because it
was
was fleeting.
no, I was like, I felt it coming up, and I was like, oh, I'm noticing like this is mine. Like something is coming up here.
Mhm.
Um,
What was
and
it?
so
Was it panic or was it
um,
frustration or
yeah, I think I was feeling it like shows up honestly, my reaction almost always shows up as annoyance. Like it's like the first thing
Oh,
is like I
yeah?
feel really annoyed because you were like
So
I feel
funny.
I feel some resistance to that, and like we don't like
Oh, yeah.
do we have like a deadline or whatever? And I'm sitting here going like we just fucking talked about having deadlines. Like you were like you wanted to get it set in stone, and now you're
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
yeah, I think it was for me it was like, well, what the fuck are we doing then?
So
I
funny.
thought we did this.
Okay, so I did
Um
clock that though when I shared. I was like, I feel a little bit reticent about this. There was a to-do item for my DCO to follow up with our team about something specific with regard to professional development. And I was like, I feel a little bit reticent about this for these reasons. And I did clock like Taylor's annoyed with me, but that's okay. We'll get
And it's
through this.
okay. Yeah, and I had the thought
Yeah.
of like I'm annoyed and that's okay. Like that I'm allowed to be annoyed and also like I can be annoyed and work through this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like that stuff still does come up and oftentimes I think you're absolutely right that it's reflective of not something wrong in the process, not something wrong about what you're saying, but there not anything wrong at all, but there's something for me that's like coming up here. Maybe related to like maybe feeling unsure, like feeling like
Mhm.
maybe I thought I understood something
Yeah.
and now I'm learning that I don't, and that makes me feel unsure or nervous or unsettled.
Yeah.
It could be related to that.
Yeah. Really, that's
Um,
for me the sandcastle piece. It's like I think I've used this metaphor analogy. I never fucking know. It doesn't matter. But like building a sandcastle by the on the ocean, you sort of walk away or on a sandbar by the ocean or something, and I like leave, and then I turn around and it's just demolished. I'm like, fuck, I gotta build this again, and I sort of build the same one. But it, I don't. There's just things I don't remember. Like if it's not,
yeah.
there are things I don't remember, and so I think that's really what happens. Is I'm like, well, wait, what? Hang on, is this decided? And then I think it ends up being anxiety provoking for you a little bit, or sort of like, well,
Mhm.
fuck, did I miss something? And then it might,
Yes.
like you said, like a little bit of
Yeah.
anxiety, and then it sort of um maybe initially manifests as annoyance or
Yep.
frustration. Like,
Yep.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah, well, and I think that's also I wonder if is that maybe a Taylor and Tara thing, or is that like a VI dynamic where the
Oh,
visionary
interesting.
visionary might be more prone to being less grounded in the details, and the
Yes,
the integrator is maybe more of the like historian, the keeper of the records of like,
I
no, no,
love
no,
that.
we said this thing. Let's go
Mhm.
back to this thing. And so maybe my response, not should be because my response is what it is, but
Yeah, sure.
the response should be, or the solution is, um, fact check, go back to the record. That's my role, and it's okay for me to say, oh, actually, we did decide on the last time we talked, like this is what the note said, this is what we
Hmm.
decided, rather than being like, oh no, am I like missing something or I've forgotten
Hmm.
something? Leaning more into that. Oh, this is my role here is to direct us back to this is what we've decided. Do we need to
Hmm.
revisit that and have a different conversation? Or do you as the visionary just need my help grounding back into, oh no, we actually did this already.
Usually it's that piece, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
funny too is that the concept or the idea of sending out this email to the team without me sort of integrating, like, no, we have decided on this calendar of events was anxiety provoking. And
Yeah, for
that was
you.
my, yeah, yeah. So it's funny
Yeah.
too, where it's like, I'm like, hang on, hang on,
Yeah.
hang on, hang on, hang on. If I like feel anxious or it doesn't all
Yeah.
feel like it's settled into place, I'm going to dig my heels in. Like,
Well, it's yeah,
slow down a sec. Yeah.
it's that quiet work of recognizing our emotional responses are like you say all the time, like feelings are data. It's like
Hmm.
this feeling is something, it's pointing me to something. So I need to
Yeah.
like investigate what that is. And so for you it was, is this not feeling like this thing was solidified? And for
Hmm.
me, it was, oh, this thing was solidified. So let's get
Yeah. What
clarity
the
on
hell,
this.
Tara? Yeah.
Ultimately pointing us back to the same point of like needing clarification around this thing.
Yeah.
But that's again, that's work. That's emotional.
Hmm.
That's emotional work we're doing.
I'll say one more thing about the quiet labor of leadership. And then I want to move on to another question. There was fuck, what you just said reminded me of this. I wanted to say it earlier and we just kept talking and oh, I know what it was. I think that another component to this like quiet labor piece is the sheer amount of time spent on something that looks simple on the outside. That to me is quiet labor. That's the shit that I love when I have the time is to really like dig into a project and spend, hours uninterrupted trying to like comb through, or it might take me months. Like I've been working through externalizing my entire payroll process, but that also um, entails everything from like inception to completion, the start of it and the end of it, what it is, who does it, how it's tracked, all of those things have to get basically outside of my head and like in the right place. It's been literal months and months of talking about this and grappling and like going to chat and like, hey, let me like talk through my process, like help me make sense of how can I externalize these pieces and where can they live. Nobody is going to give a fuck. And also, I don't think anybody can have a like felt sense of recognition about the amount of time that has been spent on this thing that I think when it's enacted, if we do that labor well, it looks seamless. It looks smooth. That is what I want. I want from any, even like our clients coming in, but for our clinicians too, for our employees, I want the experience to look and feel clean. And I think to have it be clean, it requires a lot of whatever the thing is, whether it's a process or a system or a workflow or externalization of something or introduction of something or what the hell ever, to have it look and feel clean requires a lot of intentionality on the front end. And I think that that is something that, and I'm going to say this, I don't mean it like a martyr, like nobody knows the weight I carry. This whole episode is not that at all. Like this isn't about martyrdom, but I do think that nobody can see it because they're not in it. They don't fully understand. They don't fully get it. And yeah. So I
I
think that's it.
agree. No, I agree. I agree. I think it's like it's just acknowledgement of like this work is difficult in a way that um that's different, that not everyone is ever going to experience what being in a leadership role looks like in this
Hmm.
capacity. And so it's like there's actually a unique group of people who are
Can
experiencing
get it.
this and get it. And that is part of the challenge, is that pool of people can be really small. And so it can be kind of isolating at times to feel like, man, like I'm doing this work and no one really, people just they don't see it fully. Cause I think we all
Hmm.
want to be seen and known. And it's hard sometimes with this kind of work to be fully seen, um, by people who aren't also doing that work.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it's possible. And I think that's probably universal. I don't even think that's unique to our, um, I'm going to say profession necessarily. I think it's
No, I
probably just
agree.
universal, period.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to keep going, not to abruptly change, but I think we have probably exhausted that question. Okay. So then, second question, what is a moment where you realized leadership was heavier than you expected?
For me, this comes down to some of the biggest challenges feel like I've experienced are relational. Um, Especially, and I think you can probably relate to this in like a little bit of a different way, but for me, starting as like when you're thinking about like your accountability chart, your org
Yeah.
chart, like at the bottom, huge quotes, like
Yeah. Yeah.
I do
Sure.
not like that language, but like having no leadership, kind of like, I'm just one of the people, man, I'm just a worker.
Yeah.
Um, Starting there and then slowly moving quote unquote up into a position of leadership. Um, I made a lot of I formed and nurtured and grew a lot of relationships. And those relationships that I value really, really strongly, um, have shifted because
Yeah.
I've gone in a place from being a peer or a colleague to some of my friends to now being in a position of power over them, which
Hmm.
again, like gross power, whatever, but truly like having maybe authority is
Yeah.
a cleaner word. But like if you really boil it down, I have a direct say in employment
Yes.
or people who I consider to be my friends.
Mhm.
Um, that's and I don't want to also paint a picture like this is something I'm very much in process about.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I've arrived or I feel like I am fully settled because, for example, I am in a book club outside of work with some of my peers, or I guess not peers anymore, but some people who are technically my employees.
Mhm.
Um, so what does that look like? What does it look like to be in a position of, in one sphere of my life, being friends, sharing vulnerabilities about life with people I care really deeply about, and then being in a position in the workplace where I may have to discipline this person who is also my friend. And that is a situation I have found myself in because
Yeah.
I am the direct report for someone who I consider a good friend. Um, that is like, man, that's messy. It gets messy. And it
Mhm.
for me, like this is where I'm still in process of what comes up for me is, do I need to reevaluate that friendship? Do I need to pull back in that friendship? Do I need to create more distance? Um, so that there is more of a feeling of safety in the workplace? Because I would hate for an employee to feel like they are being treated unfairly or
Mhm.
or to have unrealistic expectations of our dynamic at work because we have a prior friendship. Like, this work
Yes.
is like, it's messy. It's really messy just to work like, to have relationships and work with people. People are messy, relationships are messy, and then you add on this layer of, um, "I like you a lot, I'm friends with you, we started as friends, and now, like, things have changed to where there's this new dynamic in our relationship." I didn't expect that.
Mm.
I didn't expect to be in this position where, um, maybe I'm out with drinks for with some of my friends, and they wanna bring up a something they're venting about work. That puts me in a really fucking awkward
Mhm.
position because I'm your friend, but I'm also the direct report of this
Yeah.
person that you're frustrated about. So what
Yeah.
do? Do I, so to
Recuse yourself from the conversation.
right, and so that is
Yeah.
honestly, that's kind of the boundary
Yeah.
that I've put in place for myself and been clear with my friends about, like, when we are in a social setting, I'm not gonna engage about work-related things, and in fact, I'm gonna ask that we try to shy away from those things, or I might have to either change the subject or take a bathroom break while you
Mhm.
finish, because I think it's not fair to say, like, "You can't talk about this thing." Like,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
work
ridiculous. Uh-huh.
work is such a big part of our lives, and
Mhm.
it's really healthy to blow off steam and to be able to express, like, Joe at work is really fucking annoying me. He did this thing.
Mhm.
Let me tell you what Joe did, you
Yeah.
know? It's like, well, I like the tea. I want to know what Joe
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. Right. And also,
But is this
I
going
don't
to
know if I should
impact?
talk.
Yeah, is this going to impact
Mhm.
my ability to also go back to work on Monday and be Joe's supervisor?
Right.
Um, that's like for me, that's been the most challenging. And I like hope that it never comes to fruition, but I dread the day where I may be in a position of having to engage in some disciplinary action with someone I
Mhm.
consider a friend.
Yes. Um, yeah, I always think about it's so funny to me because I didn't love reading Radical Candor, but I really like listening to Kim Scott talk. I really like the episodes I have listened to of her podcast, and I like the speed with which she dissects things and the ways she talks about things. And I just remember maybe in the story or in the book when I did try to read it, there was a story about this, like having I think, or maybe it was a podcast episode. I don't remember the details, but there was something about this, like being friends with a colleague, but also you are their boss effectively. Like she could fire this person. And I think it came down to that she had to. And it was, again, either her story or someone else's. I don't even remember the details, honestly, but it was something about that, like along those lines. I think that that is probably not exactly the same for me because it started with me being the one employing people. What I will say is that what's a moment when I realized leadership was heavier than expected? I mean, I feel like that's just all the time. I don't know. I don't know if there's like any one moment. I think that hmm.
Can I offer a thought for
Yeah, go
you?
ahead. Yeah.
I'm honestly thinking about like COVID and
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
like just yeah, the weight that you had to carry
Mhm.
of being impacted by this thing, of being the person liable and in charge of this business, of people's livelihoods, just the
Mhm.
like um ironically, like I didn't know you then, but just hearing your experience of like how fucking stressful I don't know if
Yeah.
that's what that was a thought that came up to me for like maybe something that was
Yeah.
challenging for you.
Yeah, I think that it's like, yeah, that was especially that was I mean, that was it was horrible. It was especially hard. But I think there's something about like, that was an intensified version of something that always exists. You know what I mean? Where it's like, holy shit,
Yeah.
like, I think about like a pencil. You're poking a pencil through a balloon that's not blown up. You're like poking, poking, poking. And at some point, like it can stretch pretty fucking far, even with the pencil, because it's not a blown up balloon. It's just what is it, latex or whatever it's made of. So you're
Yeah.
just poking, poking. It felt like that shit was about to we were about to get a big fucking hole, and we didn't, and so everything, obviously is fine, quote, "fine" since then, but, I mean, it's, the evolution of the practice, we've continued to grow and evolve and all that, but that feeling of the pencil and the latex balloon that's not blown up, that's always I think it has always been there, and it is still always there, not with the same level of intensity as, like, the COVID moments, for example. I would say this year has been really hard. It's been especially
Yeah.
hard with regard to hiring and finances and a couple of clinicians on leave. And not that it's not turning because it has been sort of shifting and things have been moving in the right direction. And still, it's the pencil with the balloon. I don't know. I feel like the joke in my family, like with my husband, honestly, my family of origin too, I will do what I need to do. Like, I'm just going to do whatever I need to get done or whatever I want to get done, no matter how heavy the haul is. And so if I want something moved, like in the house, for example, and nobody's there to help me, I'm gonna get it fucking moved. Like, I'm gonna do it. So my family jokingly would call me Shira because I'm like, and the joke with my husband and I is I'm a pack mule. Like, I will, and I think that those are like physical manifestations of sort of an internal experience too, or like a physical, it's like Shira or a pack mule is like, yeah, I'll carry a lot of shit for a long time. And so, carrying the load, I think, is also just part of the quiet labor, honestly. So I don't mean to just keep circling back where it's like, I don't know if there was a moment where it felt heavier. I think sometimes when it gets reflected back to me is when I'm like, "Oh, fuck, that is heavy," is when I, like, can see it, like, in real time. I remember our DCO now, this is way back when we tried EOS for the first time. I'm not gonna tell the whole story, but it did not go well. That's all that I'll say. There were 3 people plus myself, so 4 of us on the leadership team total. I implemented it in the wrong way. Taylor wasn't even at the practice yet, so there was no future integrator with me, and, my now director of clinical ops was actually kind of an office manager and doing, like, leadership team, like, in an administrative operational capacity, but also doing therapy. It was messy, let's just say that. And so she had started to do something. So my now DCO, her name is Molly. Molly was, like, doing something for me, like, leadership related, and she did some training or something, met with me individually after and said, like, "I did not realize how much you were doing, or I didn't realize how much this was," or something to that extent, and I was like, "Whoa," like, "Wow, thanks." Like, yeah, it is heavy, like, but I don't even, like, as I'm going, I'm not even, like, actively thinking about it because 'cause I'm being a fucking pack mule. I'm just carrying what needs to be carried to the location that we're going to. And so I feel like I'm not trying to cop out of the answer, but I think it's just such a I don't know. Like, I feel like a lot of my life too has been like I carry shit. I just carry shit and it's fine. And I'll do it on my own if I need to. And
I
I'll
was just gonna say, like, this is family of origin.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
They're
it's
like,
just,
yeah, this is
yeah, it's
the
fine.
roles. Yeah, the roles we were placed in.
Yeah, carry what I need to for however long I need to, figure it the fuck out, bear the emotional weight. Like I can handle it. I think that's probably why I love emotions so much. They're fine. Like I'm not going to be phased by other people's, And so with some exceptions, I would say contempt is something that really ruffles my fucking feathers, but that aside, I think it's always heavy and there are moments where it's heavier than others, but I'm not sure that um, lonely is definitely a feeling throughout the entire experience. I don't think I realized the extent to which I would feel
Yeah.
lonely, especially
Yes.
with the quiet labor piece. When I really started to like grapple with, there's a lot of quiet labor and like a lack of um I don't want to say recognition, like I need you to see what I'm doing, but like a lack of realization at the amount of labor and like effort and work and intentionality that goes into stuff. That was really lonely. And then that has like kind of shifted, probably because I have a leadership team, probably because I have people to like share this with. But it's like lonely is really the word that comes to mind and carrying the heavy stuff, but also I'm not going to set it down because I want the thing built in the way that I want it built. And so if it's me doing this thing, like this heavy lifting, so fucking be it. Like this is the thing that I want to be built and how I want it to feel for people. And then as they step in, they do carry a load as well. Like I think the culture of the practice, sure, maybe the ultimate responsibility is on leadership and maybe on visionary and then trickles down to integrator. But every single person at the practice carries a load related to culture. They carry a load related to their role. And so I think I think there's something about like, even though my load remains heavy and I think leadership load remains kind of heavy as we're going, I feel like there's also disbursement to the right places and some of what maybe you used to carry actually gets passed off and then something new might come into its place. And I don't know where I'm going with that. So I think that I'm done.
Well, let me wrap it up for you.
Do it. Thanks. And a
Um,
pretty bow
yeah,
to the
so what
package.
this made me think of is in the office when um Jim and Michael are both managers and Michael's like, I usually have to do this on my own. Like it's like this, it's funny,
Mm-hmm.
but it because they're like hiding in his office. And
Drinking,
it's like,
don't they start drinking at like scotch or bourbon or something? Like,
yeah, yeah, something. Um, and it's like a stressful situation, and Jim's kind
yeah,
of like, "Why are you laughing?" Or like, "Why are you smiling?" And he's like, "It's just really nice because I always have to do this part on my own."
yeah, yeah, yep,
And that's like that's part of maybe what you're talking about too is like, um,
sharing it.
it's sharing now. Um, it's like we have to have like kind of hard conversations at times, and like different things are difficult or carry weight, but we're not
Have each
alone.
other.
Yeah, we do. It's like
We
you, me,
do.
Molly.
Hmm.
Like it's like,
Yep.
oh, I really want to like. Well, sometimes we'll say like, oh, I don't want to talk about this thing,
Yeah.
but we got to. We
Yes.
gotta. And it's nice to be able to like at least, maybe go to a team member, or say something to the team that you know is gonna maybe like be hard to hear, and know that's like, well, Tara and Molly have got my back. Like
Yeah.
we're in this together.
Yeah.
And there's
Something
also
about,
the go ahead.
no, no, you can finish your thought.
I was gonna say it's also like an added layer of like we made this decision together. Like I can
Yep.
feel a sense of like confidence. Even though this may be a difficult decision or it may be hard for someone to hear, I have a higher level or a deeper sense of confidence because we talked through all of the potential pros and cons, the pitfalls. Like, we did that together
Emotionality too.
rather than it just
Yeah.
being here with me.
Yes. Yeah. That is probably one of the most powerful for me pieces in all of this is I'm like a bat. Like I like legitimately need feedback to find myself in time and space. Like I I it's like I have to use echolocation to make sense of where I am, including with structures. It's like I need to ping off other people and I need to I shouldn't say need, but I feel much more grounded when I have a trusted source or like a trusted, you and Molly both, I think, trusted group of people that I can go to and say, either here's the situation, here's what I'm thinking, here's what I'm feeling. Am I fucking crazy? Like, what am I missing? What do you all think? Well, here's what I'm thinking. What do you think about the solution? What's it going to bring up? I mean, that has been probably the most impactful in terms of decreasing the heaviness. And there still is things that are unique to Carrie, I think, for myself, for each of our roles in
Yeah.
leadership in general, but like the weight of responsibility for making every single decision and the impact on the entire structure as well as all of the people, that being shared is just such a profound relief. That's such a it's an incredible relief. Yeah. Okay. Anything else that you want to add to this?
No.
All right. Let's keep going. Okay, question 3 then. I want to see where this question goes. What patterns do you watch for in the practice that inform your decisions even if no one else notices them? That's interesting. I have thoughts. I have immediate thoughts. I don't even
I
know if I'm like,
I do too. I want to hear your thoughts because I think we might. My inclination is that it's the same thought, and I'm like gonna write down
see,
my answer and see if it is what I
hold it
think
up
it
when I'm
is.
done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I literally am. Hold on, I literally am.
That's funny. Okay, I'll wait. I'll give you a second. We'll fast skip this or get this out of the recording. So no, we won't. I'll probably leave it in. What patterns do you watch for in the practice that inform your decisions, even if no one else notices them? Okay, I'm going to go. Are you ready?
Ready?
I'm not sure how to say this, but emotional patterns. Like I've always feel like I am wanting to be tuned in with how people are doing. And when there are things that are out of character or a little bit like outside the norm, I feel like I get a spike of, wait a sec, what's that? Like, huh? Hang on, but what tell me about this? Like, what happened? Okay, are they good? Like there's a sense of like a little prairie dog like popping up and like looking around and like scanning. I feel like I end up scanning for threats and scanning the environment and trying to figure out what's going on. Is this what's the thing that's happening? And I think, what do I think? I think there's something about like if something outside the baseline happens, it may not be anything. So that's fine. But I always want to know like the emotional undertone of that thing happening. So this person is canceling all their sessions for 2 weeks in a row. Like, hang the fuck on. Like, are they okay? What's going on? Do we have context? It feels like I want context. And I also want to make sure that person is okay. Like, are they okay? What do they need from us? If anything, can we be supportive? Is this something that is associated with what we're doing? Is it related to something at the practice or is it like life circumstance that's coming over and, and showing up in terms of how they're doing their clinical work or maybe their schedule? So I feel like the patterns are really like maybe shifts in baseline with regard to people and then also like the emotional tone, which is harder to stay connected to as I am more and more in visionary. And that's a separate conversation, a little bit of a separate issue. What do you think? Is that what you were thinking?
Big reveal. You can't see
What
it
does it
very
say?
well, but it says reactions of staff / emotionality of staff. Yeah. Um.
That is so funny. Wait, those are yours too, or you were guessing
Yeah.
mine?
Both.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I thought, and I thought that I knew that's exactly what you were gonna
Yes,
say.
always,
Um.
yeah.
Yeah, because it really is like if we had to boil everything down to one theme of everything we talk about, or what this really ultimately comes down to is, um, emotions are fact, emotions are data. Um,
Mhm.
if there's something coming up, like I think back to, I had a biannual scheduled with one of my staff members, and we have them do a survey ahead of time. I was reading through their survey responses, and it was off. Like it was like very
Yeah,
short. Like this person is not like a short person in terms of like their responses. Um, it was, like, very short. The numbers were lower than I expected in terms of, like, satisfaction scores. I feel like I keep a good pulse on, like, how people are feeling, and we worked really hard to create a culture where people can share with us when they are not happy or if they have feedback. And so I was surprised by some of the responses, and so when it came time for I was reviewing this, like, right before I hopped on the meeting with them, and so I hopped in, and one, immediately could tell that their demeanor
mhm.
was atypical for them, and I just said, like, "What's up?" Like, I reviewed your survey responses. Seems like something's up. Like, what's going on?" And immediately this person was like, "I am not doing well. I am not in a good
Aw,
place."
yeah.
Like, um, both feelings, like some work overwhelm, but like a lot of personal life. Like it's a hard fucking world to be in right
Yeah.
now. And like
Mhm.
that's another like talk about like heaviness that we as leadership carry. Like we also have to carry this acknowledgement that like our people are not living in a vacuum. Like one,
Yeah.
the work that we're doing is inherently difficult, like holding emotional space for other people, and oftentimes having to like this is like very social worky of me, but like bear witness to the trauma, the struggle, the pain of other people is a heavy, incredibly beautiful, meaningful, but heavy thing. And they're doing this in the context of like this
They might be doing
this
it for themselves too.
this world that we're
Yeah.
living in, that, like right now at this point in time, no matter what end of the spectrum you're on, is emotionally very intense. There's a lot happening. Um, and so all of that to say, yeah, like that was literally like those data points for me were
Mhm.
pointing to something's off with this person. So we ended up rescheduling and not doing the biannual because like you're not like you are not well. Like
Mhm.
let's talk about what you need here and then we can get back to the biannual another time.
Yeah.
Fast forward, we redid it like a month and some change later and like scores were completely different.
Mhm.
Answers were completely different. We had a really fruitful conversation with some like really good feedback about some processes at you know in our operations team.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. I agree. I think it is absolutely the patterns. The patterns are like the people and
Mhm.
what's going on with our people.
Yeah, I think there's something too, and this is, I know you know this, Taylor, but I feel like clarification for anybody listening who might be just wondering about this. Seeing patterns in the team and like responding to emotionality within the team. I feel like we do this really effectively because we bring on the right people. So our hiring process is thorough and I'm pumped. As I'm carving out more time for myself, I just want to make some tweaks. I'm really excited about that. And it still is good. As it is, it still is good. And so when we bring people on, it's a pretty like they're pretty much vetted by the point that they actually start with us in terms of culture, in terms of like clinical quality, or even, even if they're not seasoned, like coachability to do good, quality clinical work, excuse me, or if it's operations related. Of course, that's a different kind of a skills assessment. But my point is that because we have the right people in the right seats for like across the board, I would say globally, the norm, it'd be an anomaly is to not have the right person in the right seat. The norm is right people in the right seat. Because of that, I trust the emotionality of my team. If I had a bunch of people that were working for me that I didn't have good relationships with, I hired anybody who applied, I didn't have like core values that were lived and sort of grounded in everything we're doing, I might not be as responsive to the feedback. Although I will say I probably would try to look at like global feedback I was getting, and if multiple people are like, it doesn't feel safe here, I would really like want to work on like making it feel safe, for example. But if there was a bunch of people where I was like, they're not even really a fit here, and they worked for me, and they were coming to me telling me how upset or distressed or just dissatisfied they were, I might, I mean, in an ideal world, the outcome would be that they are not employed for much longer at the practice because of not being the right person, not because they're awful, but like a right person for your group. So I think I just want to like say a caveat, which is like the trust that we have and the feedback we get from people is based on the team that we have. Like our team truly is incredible. I really adore our team. I think that they are really great and that what has been built, what we've built, what has been built is really great structure wise and people wise. And um just because there is some emotionality that comes our way, like Taylor is saying, it's data. It's not a pivotal point where we respond and fix whatever the emotion is. Some things have to remain as they are. Some things aren't fixable. Like there's some things I can't do, whether financially or functionally and structurally. Like it's just not, it doesn't make any sense to do this. And so it's not like every time there's negative feedback or some sort of like spike in emotionality or like pattern shift, that doesn't immediately equal that we're changing something up. We might assess. I think that that's pretty like standard, which is okay. So this is the process that's baked into. Is there anything that's off here? No. Okay. I think it might just be a person thing right now. Like, let's process with that person a little further. And like that might be the next step. But because of the high trust in my team, any emotional spikes or shifts or any feedback we get, we do take seriously. It's important to me. I think it's important to leadership, period. And if we had a team that was made up of people who, I don't know, maybe I don't have as much trust or it's just not as quality, I might respond differently. I think leadership in general might respond differently.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Do you want to keep going or you have anything else you want to add there?
No, I don't have anything else.
Yeah. Okay.
Are we going to have to like, is NBC going to come after us for how much,
What?
for like how often and how much we reference The Office?
Oh my God. I can hope not. Only when we start playing clips as we're going.
We're gonna get cease and desist.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, so next question, we're moving on. What is the emotional work underneath LMA that no one teaches you? LMA, for those who don't know, is a formula from EOS in the EOS world, from traction. It is leadership plus management equals accountability. In essence, applying leadership principles and management principles and behaviors gets you accountability without you having to like force somebody's feet to the fire, you know? So, what is the emotional work underneath LMA that no one teaches you? LMA is big. I'm really interested to hear your answer because, well, A, I like what you have to say, broadly speaking, and B, I want to know. We've been talking about LMA lately, and so I'm
Yeah.
curious what's coming up for you.
So I don't know if this is going to be exactly because I'm going to be a little bit pedantic here, and say like I think maybe no one's taught me explicitly, sure, but I think that like we are taught everything, like everything, like is taught to us, whether that be like explicitly from a person or like life
Oh, yeah,
experiences,
yeah.
whatever. So I'm thinking about like in terms of like
The emotional work or the go ahead, I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm just thinking like formally like being taught. My master's focus was policy planning and administration. So very leadership in nature. But the focus of the things I was formally taught was much more about structures, like vaguely styles of leadership, um, but more like how to do things,
Yes.
how to create a business plan, how
Yeah.
to create a budget for an organization, like those kinds of things. The emotional
Mhm.
piece really wasn't explicitly taught, in terms of my like formal education, my
Yeah.
formal preparation for this kind of role. Um, what I didn't this is maybe like melding a couple of maybe a question from earlier, but like what I didn't expect was how much my personal journey in therapy um would inform on how I approach leadership and
Mm.
especially the emotional aspect of um like the emotional work of LMA, but also like you have taught me a lot.
Mm.
So that's why I'm like a little bit reticent to say like what like I don't know. I think I may be jumbling up the question, but like what didn't they
Oh,
teach
what's the
you?
emotional work underneath LMA that yeah, that no one teaches you? Yeah.
Yeah. I feel maybe a little bit spoiled because I feel like you have taught me. I feel like I've learned a lot from you about the emotional work. But maybe when I coming into it, thinking about like I think just acknowledging that there is so much emotional work, like that wasn't taught. I did not expect
Mhm.
that. I did not expect that. I did not expect break a record. I did not
Yeah, yeah,
expect
now
that.
I
I
get it.
did not expect that.
I really
Uh,
didn't expect it
I
though.
I
Yeah.
didn't. And so early on in my experiences of LMA with you, like in what I mean by that is early on in my experiences of doing LMA and
Yeah, of
being
having your own direct
mentored.
reports. Yeah.
Yes, being
Yeah.
mentored by you or directed have you doing LMA with me, when experiencing challenges, almost always were there was some level of emotionality. I think part of the reason why that's like such a theme for us is again because we live in emotion.
Mhm.
Emotion is often either the root of the problem or such a big like flag post of like,
Mhm.
hey, look over here, there's something not working.
Yep.
Um, and so you instead of me being I'm very by nature very solutions focused, very like intellectualizing. Um Hence why my therapy journey has been so impactful because I tend to stay so much in my like thought and my
Yeah, yeah.
therapist is like, yeah, 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 but like what do you feel?
Yeah, yeah. Where's in your body? Yeah.
Um is you kind of pointing me away from like, well, before you jump into the solutions
Mm.
here, what's going on? Like, have you asked this person like why this thing? Or like I can hear you saying like, I'm curious about what's coming up for that person, or vice versa. Like, I'm curious what's coming up for you.
Mm,
And so
mhm.
rather talking about maybe the specific challenge at hand, um, oh, like thinking about like that client of Emily's
Oh,
that
yeah. Yeah, a long time
you
ago.
know exactly what I'm
Mhm.
talking
Yes.
about.
Mhm.
Such a significant level of emotionality coming up. And that was super triggering for me.
Mhm.
Honestly, it was less about how do we solve this problem. That part ended up being relatively easy, but it
Mhm.
was dealing with like what is coming up for you, what's getting in the way of getting to that solution. That's the part that you've taught me a lot about that I
Mhm.
didn't expect coming into leadership again is like doing that emotional work or understanding, I think, what a key role, what a central role emotionality is in
Mhm.
LMA, in the leadership of people and the management of people. Um, and in I'm thinking about like own your shit, both in owning my shit and also
Mhm.
helping others to feel safe and vulnerable to be able to own their shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this because I think that I forget the exact language you use, but sort of this notion that emotions are kind of a major factor in a lot of examples or circumstances. I would say in all of them, like anytime there is a
Um,
response, whether it looks like defensiveness or someone's asking like questions and it's like they have a lot of them, or someone seems a little short in their email. Like for me, emotions are the driver for behaviors. And so it's not an option that they're not at play, and it's not an option that they're not first. And if there's stability and like regulation and emotional psychological safety, which of course we can help create at a practice, then it allows for solutions and like implementing solutions and also getting input from people around you for solutions that are realistic and doable and sustainable. All of that it feels simple. It's like all of that is like, well, yeah, there's a problem, here's a solution, boom, done. But that nobody gives a fuck. Like that's so easy. Like
easy.
problem, solution.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
the easy part.
Yeah.
The part that I think doesn't maybe I hope that gets talked about in leadership trainings now, or I don't actually know. I think
Yeah.
that the emotional work underneath LMA is that for me, it permeates every single thing. My relationship with this person, not only their emotionality, but also my own. So I have to know myself and I need to be tuned in with this person next to me. And also, I think to such an extent that if they're having some sort of reaction, I'm not going to react to it. I'm going to like bear witness and help make sense of it. And if I'm having a reaction, I might need to say like, "Oh fuck, like oh man, like I'm like something's happening. Like I need to take a second. I
Yep.
need to take a few minutes or take a second, or I just need to like I'm realizing I'm reacting to what you're saying right now." And so
Do
I
not fire that email off.
yeah, never, never.
Do not
I
fire it
will
off.
say, yeah, if I'm ever feeling agitated, and I will not send an email. Like no, because it's gonna be nope, I just won't do it. It's gonna
Yeah.
be short or it's gonna be curt or it's gonna be it's not
Yeah.
it ends up feeling it doesn't I want it to feel nice when it's received. I don't want someone to question
How you
I
feel
yeah,
about them.
yes, how I feel
Yeah.
about them, if I'm like mad or frustrated or whatever. So I think that maybe just to recap this, because I don't know if I really have much more to add, the emotional work underneath LMA is that it's just always there. And I think it should be tuned into or tended to in every LMA interaction that you have, whether by nature of how you're just engaging with the person, which is attachment based. It's like I'm connecting with you as a human, like we're here together, or whether it is an active process, like, oh man, I am noticing something happening between us and I don't know what it is. Is there something happening? Like, are you feeling okay? Like, I'm sensing some hesitation. I don't know if it's just my own, like, it's like now we're like grappling with this thing together, and maybe it's nothing, but also like it seems like it might be something. So, can we just like talk about it? Some people don't like that, but also like if it's in the way of LMA, then it has to be tended to. I always think about like, I always think about your fucking your midbrain. You know this, your limbic system, your midbrain. It's older. It's like from an evolutionary perspective, it was developed first. I mean, develops first in utero. It's your hindbrain, then your midbrain, and your midbrain is like your emotional center, basically. And I think about it like if I'm hiking on a trail and there's all of these like offshoots, or spurs, like trail spurs, like, oh, you can go this way and then you just got to come back down. And so if I'm hiking on a trail and somebody says, you have to hike every single foot of this trail you have to hike, including the spurs. I think about like the spurs as emotional like spikes. Like, oh, I have to actually walk this to be able to like come back down to a baseline to continue the conversation that I actually need to have with you. And so if there is emotionality and it's not tended to, or like um at a low enough level that you can engage with somebody about whatever the problem at hand is, you are wasting your breath,
Mhm.
because it has to be low enough that your frontal cortex will in essence go offline if your limbic system is too loud. You are not able to really retain information. You can't think clearly. You might think you're logical, but you're driven by whatever's happening in your emotional center. And so I think there's something about like, there has to be from my perspective, there has to be a sense of comfortability with emotions and an emotional world as part of leadership, not only your own, but also others. And so I don't know. It's weird to me to think like no one taught me that. I think my whole life has been like emotions are important. So it's like my whole life has taught me this. And also then there's like, neurological, like biological components to it. Then there's also like um theoretical components to it. And there's also like clinical experience components. Like every aspect of this is just fed into me having this. In my mind, it's basically set, like emotions do come first and they should take priority. And that doesn't mean that they should take up all of the space entirely and that you should spend the whole time processing emotions to the extent that it turns into a therapy session, because
Yes.
that's not what I'm trying to say. What I am saying is that when emotions spike, we can collectively like tend to them, bring them down, and continue the LMA conversation we need to have. If they're so big and they can't be brought down, that's not that's not appropriate. It's a therapeutic conversation, or that say like, "Holy moly, like, you need to get hooked up with your supervisor about this. Like, this is something that's blocking us even having a conversation that we need to have." Like, those are
Yeah, like
separate things.
yeah, like the biannual. It was like where like,
Oh, yes, that's a
yeah,
great example.
this emotion is important, but also big enough, and this is not the place to like tend to this.
Yes.
So let's like I want to honor that and understand that like we actually can't have the conversation we came here to have because this thing is in the way. And that's okay.
Yeah,
So
and I'm not gonna force it. Yeah,
no,
I'm not gonna force this conversation. Yeah, sorry.
no,
I just
no,
really
that's
trying to like hone in on like you literally just accepted the state of what was and said, "Let's just do this later."
yeah, yes, that's exactly right. Like
Yeah.
it
Mhm.
sounds like this needs to be tended to. We're not going to do that here. Like there was a very
Yeah.
implicit understanding that like that's not what we're here for. That's not our relationship. That's not my role. So
Yeah.
like you take time to tend to this thing because it's important and it needs tending to. So do that in the appropriate time and place. And then we'll reconvene and we'll have this conversation once this other thing is tended to.
Yeah.
Because we would have had a very, very different conversation if we had tried to like push through and just like get through it.
Yeah.
Um,
It would
and
have
it
been
would,
fruitless.
yes, for sure.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
would have been fruitless. Yeah.
for sure.
And skewed data. It would have skewed the data. It would have been
That's
fruitless.
exactly right. I
Yeah.
mean, even like literally skewed the data in terms
Yeah.
of like we
I'm
collect
serious.
the
Yeah.
data we're collecting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the quantitative data we collect, it would have been skewed because we
Yeah.
have one negative outlier.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Just to like put a to put a point on this, like, I think this also kind of goes back to the difference between you and I and how we like have come to this place because I am a new adherent to the belief that emotion is in everything. It should be a part of everything, which is so fucking
That
funny
is
as like
funny.
a
Yeah.
but I will say like my training as a social worker is more about like our focus is more about
Yeah.
systems and how um like on a macro level how systems impact people. Person and environment is a huge thing,
Mhm.
so it's not to say that emotions aren't important, but my background is more about like systems and structures and how those impact people and have an impact on their emotion,
Mhm.
rather than being like no, the emotion is what informs it all.
Yeah.
And so I'm not a like 100% convert. But I think I've married these because I think there are times when we're in discussions between us, especially on a more like philosophical level, I'm more prone to bring into play like the systemic things like in society that might be
Mhm.
impacting. Whereas I think your approach is correct me if I'm wrong, more on a micro level of like
Yes.
of this like a person and their emotion or me and my emotion. And so again, this is just a great example of like visionary integrator. We're coming from
Yeah.
different, very different kind of even like theoretical or philosophical foundations,
Frameworks. Mhm.
and have come to I think maybe me more come to a middle, but yeah.
I think there is something to be said for there's always I feel like there's so much nuance talking about this because I'm also thinking that um Steve, my husband Steve, I talked about him on the podcast. Taylor, Steve, he did dog training for a long time. He's incredible with dog. I mean, he just really is incredible with dogs. And he would do some training with people. This is years ago. He doesn't do it now, but he would talk about how you're not going to change this thing about the dog, but what you can start to change is the physical environment and like what you're doing with the animal, what you're doing with the dog. And some dogs, of course, this is, I probably could spend hours talking about dogs at this point just because of him. So I will spare you that and say, this also makes me think about prisons. This also makes me think about crowded areas. It also makes me think about um, spacious physical spaces. Like there absolutely is something about the system, not just the physical space, but I think the structures that we put in place and the impact on the people. So it's not that I am pro emotion and not interested in systems or
Yes.
structure. I hardcore think that a clean system, it's like what we said earlier, like that quiet labor piece, this a clean system and structure and workflow and process. I will spend a lot of time trying to build it out so it's clean because I know the experience of stepping into that is going to have an impact on the way a person feels and how they engage with it. So it's not just emotions are important and let me spend all my time talking about them and living in them. It's also this other piece. Like I think that it's just both. Like you can't
Yeah.
have one without the other. And I think that the thing that tends to get bypassed more often than not is the emotional landscape.
Yes.
The structure piece is always sort of tended to, but it's like, well, sure, that's important. It's super important, duh. And that thing that you're creating should be directly informed by this stuff over here that you're not even like asking about at all. Like this whole emotional world, this whole felt sense, all of these things should inform the structures that you're creating, the adjustments that you make to the structures, the processes,
Yes.
the workflows, et cetera. It should be both. It shouldn't just be one or the other.
Well, this is for me where it gets into the territory of like the difference between a matriarchal approach to leadership versus a patriarchal approach to
Mhm.
leadership. And maybe that's a different conversation for a different
Sure.
day, different podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's this idea of with a patriarchal perspective, Emotions are not important. They are not
Yeah.
central. A matriarchal approach, emotions are central.
Yeah.
Emotions
They're
are a
embedded in
part of
everything.
everything. That's exactly
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I love this. Okay. Let's do two more questions.
Yep.
One is more like practical. Let's just start there. Where should a leader begin if they feel overwhelmed by the invisible weight? This is a hard question.
Oh, that's funny. Because my first thought is, uh, which is not my well, it is actually my inclination. I'm not an externalizer, but my first thought is like you gotta reach out. Like if it's feeling heavy, you gotta like take that to other people, whether that
Mm.
be like sharing that load with your leadership team,
Yeah.
or if it's just you, like finding a space where you can connect with other leaders, other people doing this work. Um, that is absolutely where you should start, is like if the work is feeling heavy, it's connecting with other people, like I said, either on your leadership team and saying like, is it just me? Are you all
Yeah.
feeling this way? Or connecting with other leaders and saying like, have you experienced this?
Yeah.
Or I'm feeling this, like, what do I do with this overwhelm?
Yeah.
I'm an internal person, and if I'm ever feeling some type of way, I gotta connect. It's like this thing of like, I'm not crazy, right? Like, you feel this too?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not just me.
It's not just me, is it?
Like,
Yeah. It's
it's
like
that
reality checking
testing. That's
almost.
exactly right.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's the first thing that comes to me is like, you got to connect with other people
Yeah.
and do
Yeah.
that testing and do that checking to see like it's what we talk about with you've talked about this with me. We talk about this in leadership. I've started talking about this with my ops team in particular, but like, is this a global issue or is this an
Hmm.
individual issue? So like, is
Hmm.
this a me? Like, is there something for me that's going on with like leadership feeling heavy or overwhelming?
Yeah.
um, that I need to tend to? Or am I like entering into this universal experience of like, this is a heavy thing? And so
Yep.
then by connecting with others, it like lightens that load. It helps me feel like, okay, I'm not alone. It's not just me. And then maybe I can get some advice. Yeah, maybe I'm getting some advice of how do you carry the heavy? Or maybe it's just by virtue of like hearing like I'm not alone that like
It
just
helps.
immediately lifts that. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. I think that that's funny to me that you went there first. Um, I think I don't I just makes me feel like I have questions. Like, where should a leader begin if they feel overwhelmed by the invisible weight? I think I feel like, well, is there something I don't have enough information. Like, what do you feel overwhelmed by? Is it like the amount of things that you're carrying? Is it the not having anybody around you that you're like talking with? Do you have a leadership team in place or not? Do you have group practice owner or leader friends that you can connect with or not? Are you doing too much? Are you like, do you have sort of some martyr-like tendencies where you're taking on more than you actually need to?
Yeah.
Are you clear about the roles that you practice and what roles you're in and what should be filled by maybe somebody else who's a better fit for that seat? Are you surrounded by people who aren't actually the right people at your team? You know what I mean? Like,
Like, what's the
there's so
source?
many.
It's hard to say
Yeah.
a practical answer without knowing, like,
What
where is
is
this rooted
happening?
in? Yeah.
Yes. And so I think if there's something about like, I'm feeling overwhelmed by invisible weight and I have a leadership team, my thought would be I would take it to you all. I would say, like, I am fucking stretched thin. And then I would I'm an external processor. So for me, that's an issues list conversation because it's gonna show up everywhere. Like I'm gonna be a bottleneck or I'm gonna, what the hell
Yeah.
ever. And
Yep.
so it ends up, Terra capacity, Terra overwhelm is gonna go on the issues list and it's gonna be an item that we work through during L10. And maybe there's not something that gets changed immediately. Maybe it's like a series of small steps, or I identify like, okay, okay, okay. So this is the thing that's actually most overwhelming for me. And it could be something, I know in my own case, the things that are overwhelming, I feel like they end up being like tasky execution related things that I just I don't want to deal with or fuck with. And they're the things that get like kicked
Yeah.
down the road. And like, I'm not actually like, but they stay with me, like, I'm feeling them, you know? That's maybe a small example of, like,
The
weight, you
overwhelm.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Mhm.
I think too, there's something around, maybe to your point, Taylor, there is something around, like, nobody really let's say you don't have a leadership team, nobody really can understand at the practice, whoever you're employing, they can't really get it. They don't have the angle of the business that you have. They don't have the liability and logistical weight of it. They don't have these, they don't have any of that. So it's all on you. I think there is something about having people around you that you can go to say, I'm in the thick of it right now. I'm sort of questioning what I'm doing, if I'm doing it well, but and from there, I think that those end up being they can be really valuable conversations where some of the takeaways are things you might be able to sort of implement right away. Even if you're not getting directly to the source, you can start, because maybe there's like multiple trailheads. If we're sticking with like trails analogy, maybe there's multiple trailheads and it kind of doesn't matter which one you choose. You just have to choose one. And as you chip away at this thing, or as you start walking down this trail, you realize that this trail intersects with every other trail in this park or in this forest or in these woods or whatever. But like just starting that path will take you potentially everywhere else that you need and want to go. But so doing something, but
Yeah.
I think those somethings that you can do can be a result of having a discussion with leadership team again. If you don't have one of those, then either potentially a trusted person at your practice who you want on leadership, but if you don't have one of those, then I think colleague friends in the area.
Yeah.
Or on, Facebook. There's plenty of Facebook groups that a lot of group practice owners are a part of. And so, yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say about that. Cool. Okay, final questions. There's two, but I'm just going to say them together because it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
So one is what's sticking with each of us from this conversation, and the other is what takeaway feels most true, most grounding, or most unexpected. So I feel like they're asking
Yeah.
similar things. Yeah.
Yeah, they are. It's funny because I know what I'm gonna say is like it's like a fucking duh for you, but like it's like it's a reminder of just to tie it all together, to use your analogy or metaphor, whatever the difference is. Someone
I
tell
never
us
know.
in the comments.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously. Right.
Um, but emotionality is such a player at the table, is honestly a permanent player at the table. And just again, like I know that it's important, but I think I'm just reminded of and maybe struck by how we just keep circling back to that and how just how central um it's like it's not business or it's not personal, it's business. Um
Business is always personal, Ryan.
it's always personal.
Yeah. That's an office
It's
reference for those who don't know.
it's always personal. It like we cannot we're not we might delude ourselves into thinking we don't have emotions or that we can be these neutral people, these unbiased people, and we like can and should work to like recognize our bias. But it's the acknowledgement of the fact that we actually cannot be unbiased. We cannot be unemotional. That's where the work starts, and that's once you can like um embody or integrate that belief or that understanding that like emotions are like a significant important part of things and that they play often a central role in whatever is happening. That is when the magic happens, to be like
Mhm.
super cheesy, but I think that is like for me what feels different or what feels really special about what I feel really passionate, like why I feel really passionate about doing LMA, like doing this work, is being able to start to unlock like the problem solving of it all is easy.
Mhm. It's
Um,
fun, but it's easy. It's simple.
it's
It's
easy.
simple. Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
yeah, it's simple. It's not
Mhm.
easy. Not always. But
Yeah.
it's that emotional like navigating that piece that is fun because it's kind of more of a challenge. Like in the minute, in the midst of it, it might not feel fun. It's like, oh, this is hard and sticky.
Mhm.
But it's kind of like, um, I'm not a runner. I did a 5K once, and that
Ooh,
was like,
that's a
uh-huh.
big deal.
It was
Yeah.
hard. It was hard as
Yeah.
fuck. And I got to the end, and it was like, that was awesome. It
Yeah.
was fucking hard, but it was
Yeah.
like, that was awesome. You get those endorphins, you get that
Yeah.
high. That's what it feels like to me. It's like working through some of these emotional pieces or working through that in LMA. Um, it's like I get that high because it's like we're doing challenging, important work. And it's like if I'm gonna get macro, it's like I was talking with my therapist. God, it's also intertwined, like motherhood,
Mhm.
like this work that we are doing as parents of young people, teaching them, helping them to regulate emotion and understand that is the most vital work
Yes.
that we as humans can be doing.
Mhm.
And this is like LMA, it's obviously not parenting. I
Yeah.
don't wanna, like, infantilize our staff
Yeah.
or, like,
No,
they're not.
it doesn't seem like that.
But there's, like, a shade of that, like, it's this like, this work is actually the most important work, because not only are we solving issues in our organization, but we're also kind of walking this is like the therapist, like, we're therapists approaching this work. We're
Mhm.
walking alongside people, and in some ways, maybe, like, giving people permission to like, you have given me permission to acknowledge that my emotions are a player here. Like, I remember the first time you kind of challenged me, and I was like, "How like, who are you to bring up my emotion into this? Like,
Shut up!
this is
Shut up about the sun!
we're professionals. We're professional.
Little did
My
you know. Yeah,
I'm a
right.
professional. My emotions aren't
I'm
at
a
play here."
professional.
And it's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, bitch, you are professional, and your emotions are professional too."
Mhm. Yeah.
That was really windy and rambling, but
No, that was great. I think there's, one thing you said that oh, fuck, I wanted to run with it for a second. It was the emotionality piece. It was something about, "Oh, I'm losing it. No, come
I
back."
hate that.
I know, I can, like, feel it slipping away. Oh, it was something I really wanted to run with.
I don't know, for me, it's like I wanted to do macro social work instead of micro social work because it's this idea of like,
Big
there are
change.
people drowning in the river, and the people doing the micro work are pulling the people out of the river, but
Mhm.
someone's gotta go up further and stop people to
Mhm.
get from getting in the river, and that's how,
Yeah.
like, you can make an impact. And so that was, to me, like, the metaphor that was given about, like, macro versus micro work, and I was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
fuck yeah, I gotta stop people from getting in the river
Yeah.
in the first place."
Yeah. Yeah, there was something I wanted to add on, and I just can't remember what it was, so that stinks because it was about the of course, the emotionality piece. You're right in that it's not, I don't wanna say, like, that's a duh because it doesn't feel that way. Oh, I know what it was. To me, thinking about people as just being emotional creatures, meaning-making creatures also in a meaningless world,
Mhm.
inherently meaningless, that part doesn't matter, but the emotional creatures too, it kind of depersonalizes stuff, where I think, like, you have feelings and I have feelings, and they are just feelings, like, they aren't all of me, even though they might take up a really strong, like, felt, like, sense in my body, maybe they take up a lot of space. I am separate from this thing, so I can both feel it deeply and also not let it consume me, and also not let it consume me to the extent that it's the only thing influencing how I'm operating. So even in, like, interchanges with people, it's not that I don't have feeling responses, um, but I think a lot of the times it feels like the 4 agreements, like the Don Miguel Ruiz, it's not personal, like, it doesn't feel personal, like, it feels like, "Oh, that's a feeling," like, "Okay, well, what's the feeling? Well, tell me about it, like, what's happening?" Like, it ends up being an entry point into a conversation instead
Yeah.
of, "You're giving me a feeling? Well, I don't fucking want you feel like, oh, no, like, that's
Mhm.
it's sort of like, "No, I can
Mhm.
walk in here with you because I, like, have boundaries around this. I'm like, have my own feelings, and that's okay, and you have yours, and what's it like?" And I think there's something about, like, when emotions do play a central role, which I think that they should, of course, if that's not obvious by this point in the episode, then that doesn't mean that they play the only role, and
No.
also, um, they just become parts of what you're doing. It just
Yeah.
continues to be like, "Oh, it's a source of data," the same way that this quantitative feedback is, the same way that my assessment of the structure is, the same way that, therapist feedback is, the same all of it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's all valuable information. So,
Well, it makes me
I'll
think
say
of, like oh, go ahead.
no, you do it. Go ahead. It makes you think
Um,
of what?
the kinda like the antidote to defensiveness. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I tend to be very defensive, and you have helped me to remember that, like, um, like, I don't actually it's not about me.
Mhm.
It is, but, like, whatever, like, the emotion if I'm interpreting, oftentimes, this is where I'm people are assuming the
Oh,
worst,
yeah,
you
sure.
know? Um, I'm assuming the worst and that actually, like, it's, like, ultimately not about me. Like, whatever might be happening,
Mhm.
that defensiveness is coming up. It's not actually whatever's happening isn't about me. And when you can, like, acknowledge that that person is coming in with their own emotions and feel curious about that,
Mhm.
it can bring down that, like, sense of defensiveness.
Yep.
So I don't have to put my, like, put my
Walls
dukes up,
up and,
be on
like, yeah.
guard. Yeah, no, because it's actually probably like whatever's happening is probably less about me and more about like what is this thing that's happening here? And
Yeah.
we can like diffuse from that and like peek at it and be curious and see like what's going on
Yeah.
here. And also the safety piece of acknowledging that like emotion, like if we're coming into it expecting that emotion is going to play a role, then I think that that can take down like shame or like
Oh, yes.
reluctance, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that further then just, like, cements this idea of, like, creating safety, creating
Yeah, that
trust,
it's fine to be
creating
you. Like have a
yeah,
full experience here, a full
yeah,
gamut of I remember years ago I still think this. Like I know people get annoyed with me. I know they get mad at shit that I do. It's okay. Like you don't have to love everything that I do or even like everything that I do. You can think that I'm overbearing or think that I'm pushy. And do you feel safe here? Do you feel supported? Like those are the things that actually matter to
yeah,
me. Your one-to-one experience of me kind of doesn't matter. I'm not I nobody is for everybody.
yeah, yep,
But the thing I was going to say too with the defensiveness piece is that if you can set that aside, then not only are you able to hear what the person is actually trying to say, but then you can also assess what they're saying in relation to whatever structure or behavior is in place or that you're doing. So if I'm defensive, basically defensiveness, just think of it as a shield effectively.
mhm,
Anything that's
mhm,
coming towards me is just going to be blocked,
mhm,
whether it's me like batting it back or like being a fucking martyr, being a martyr victim. Like they can't do anything right.
yep,
But if I can hear somebody say something to me that historically maybe I get a little bit defensive. Well, I tried as hard as I could. And instead, I hear that they are frustrated and they felt unclear of what was expected and they had higher expectations for something and they just really didn't like what happened. Then I can say, well, fuck, what role did I play in that, if
mhm,
any? And what can we do to make sure that doesn't happen next time? Because what they're saying is actually legit. Like, oh,
mhm,
they have some good points. Like, if we can, even if you feel defensive, that's not my response. That doesn't tend to be my response. And so
yeah,
I can get defensive, but like I feel
not
like that's
often,
not, yeah,
no,
it's not very
mm-mm,
often. But even if you are defensive, it's not like any feeling that you have doesn't need to exist. It's not like saying, I wouldn't say to you, Taylor, well, you need to work on being defensive. Like, stop being defensive. Oh, okay, thanks, mom. Like, fuck, good luck. Like,
yeah,
that's not
good luck,
realistic. Yeah, seriously. But if I can say, okay, cool, can you like contain the defensiveness and also just like set it aside slightly and try to hear what they're saying and maybe like relanguage it as it's coming into your system so it doesn't
yeah,
poke at your defensiveness as much. Maybe that's doable. So we're not
yeah,
saying don't be you because if your default horseman or default response is a little bit of defensiveness, fucking cool, man. It sort of doesn't matter. And we still need to be able to hear what's being said and assess its accuracy and like
yeah,
use it to assess what we're doing or what we haven't done or how we can do it better. So, yeah, I think it's like nobody has to be there's no need for perfection. You know this. I
yeah.
know this. It's not possible.
Yeah, it's like that idea of like I'm gonna butcher the quote, but it's whatever resistance to suffer, like the resistance to the suffering only amplifies the
Oh,
suffering, or is
yeah,
like worse
man.
than the suffering itself. It's
Yeah.
like I think that's like a very Buddhist idea, maybe like detach
Yeah.
yourself
I
from
don't
the
know.
like the experience or the suffering of it all and just like
Yeah.
acknowledge, so if I'm like being resistant to being defensive, well, that's fucking useless because I'm gonna be defensive and
You'd
that's
be
just
more
gonna
defensive.
create, yeah, it's
Yeah.
just gonna create more emotional distress for me.
Yeah.
But then if I can kind of like acknowledge that that's there, set that aside. You're right. Like that, what the person is like throwing at me that might be triggering. There might be some stuff in there that's like, yeah, that's not mine. That's yours to own. Like,
Yes.
but there's often, I think more oftentimes than not, people aren't fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like
They have things that are actual that we
they're not,
can assess and
yeah,
use
like
to like,
they're not that reaction, again, emotion is data.
yeah.
That's not just like springing up like Aphrodite from the foam.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's not coming up out of nothing.
Yeah.
There's something there, whether it's like this big or this big, but there's something there, and you can set that aside and then again, ultimately, it just feeds back into that relationship building and saying like, I hear you, and I value what you're saying to me, and
Yeah.
I also don't have to like, I can let some of that go. Like some of that's not mine to carry, and that's cool. I'm not gonna.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I love this. I think the thing that's probably sticking with me from today, or if there's like a takeaway or a thing, or um, I don't know if there's any one thing that stands out. I think that there's something about the heaviness piece. Always as we enter the end of the year, and especially with the sort of year that it's been, it's just it always feels heavy towards the tail end of the year.
Yeah.
With the slowing down and revenue decreases, and payroll doesn't decrease and expenses don't decrease, and so
And there's no fucking sunlight anymore.
oh, yeah, there's no sunlight anymore. I'm a vampire. I don't think that phases me, but I know, like, I don't think I think that phases you. I know Molly likes sunlight, Steve likes sunlight. Um, I think there's something about probably realizing and maybe just actively talking out loud about this. Like, I think I knew it, but, like, voicing it is like, "Oh, yeah, the the most important or the biggest maybe, like, the most emotionally significant decrease in the quiet labor, the heaviness was having you and Molly in place. It was having, and I guess initially it wasn't Molly, but having a clinical director and at the time you were office manager
Office
and director of
manager.
operations.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then soon after director of operations. That was it. I think I felt like for probably the first time, I genuinely felt like I'm not alone anymore doing this. Like, it's not just me doing this.
Yeah.
And even though the weight is different and the things that I carry are distinct in some ways, and same for you and same for
Mhm.
DCO,
Yeah.
there is still something about having people along the ride or the journey, or just having people there with me that I trust, and
Yeah.
in roles that make sense, where it's like, this is clean and effective. And when we implement it, it just continues to get better. Of course, there's hiccups as we're doing EOS, with anything, there's hiccups. And I feel like overall, like it continues to get better. And yeah, I think the takeaway for me is just realizing, like, holy shit, that was when I think I felt really like the impact of having a leadership team, and like the decrease in loneliness and the increase in um shared responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's wild
Well,
to think about
yeah.
that.
It's like a triangle, it's like way more
Mm.
sturdy. It's like way more the weight distribution is way more even than
Yes.
like one for sure. But even two, it's like what are you gonna fucking do? Like it's a house of cards. They fall right over.
Yeah. Is that 2D? Having like a wall, like in this angle it's here and here it's this and it might
Hmm.
fall. Yeah. Anyway.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, I would say, do you have any plug, but I know that you don't. So
Not yet.
this is Taylor, everybody, my integrator, who's been with me for 4 years now. Going on 5? Jesus. It'll be
Five
5. Oh
years.
my
I
God,
know.
that's
I
nuts.
know.
Um, Thank you to everybody who is here with me and with us. Excuse me. Again, this is a new recurring segment, the VI table, Visionary Integrator Table. Taylor will be on with me probably once a month, is my guess, on average, at least once a month, if not a little bit more, whenever we feel so inclined to
Yeah.
record and share something.
Mhm.
I think you know that I value time. I think you know, Taylor, but for all my other people listening, I really value time. So it means a lot that you spend some listening. My ask is one of two. One, subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. That way you get all the new episode updates and you can find it easily to listen to previous episodes. Two, share this episode with somebody who needs to hear it or who you think might benefit from hearing it. And that's it. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time.
Catch you in
Thanks.
flippity flip.
Catch you on the flippity flip. Bye.